How's going guys, welcome to the channel. In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto was adopted by the clan of predators and got trained? Part 3. If you wants to see awesome fanfiction like this, don't forget to subscribe. Now let's get into the video. Kurenai had made great progress with Naruto, he could at the very least read the language, now she told him to read all the scrolls in the house to increase his vocabulary. Hinata was surprised by the sheer vicious way his clan attacked. Naruto made no excuses, he told her they fought to kill, not to defeat. There would be no second chances if you fought one of his clan, and that was pretty easy to see. She adapted her gentle fist style and began to make her more vicious in her attacks, she knew every pressure point by heart in only 2 weeks of training. Naruto's training was not as easy as that. Hinata told him to stop things in some really weird angles, told him to focus and to use chakra through his eyes as soon as he was able to spot the things, then she told him to look for details and then for words and finally for direction. It took him also 2 weeks for him to use his eyes correctly. How can you have eyes like those in my clan but not be a part of it? Hinata asked as she threw yet another kunai at him from behind him. He evaded it, I only know what my clan told me, when a person suffers too much they are forced to see the world as it is, my mother told me my suffering must have been greater than most. Hinata began to realize that she did not know much about the origins of her taijutsu. I think I will ask my clan about it. My father might know the reason. The very next day she went to her father, father, may I ask you a question? Hiashi looked at his daughter and simply nodded. Father, how did our eyes first became like this? Hiashi trying to understand asked, do you mean how our clan gained our taijutsu? Hinata told her father that she knew nothing of the origins of the Byakugan. That knowing more about her eyes could help her train more efficiently. Hiashi was surprised by the sudden wisdom in his daughter's actions. Very well, it is a long tale, but a very sad one. This is the reason we do not tell our children unless they ask us. The founder of our clan was a very gentle and kind lady, she had fallen in love with a samurai and was very happy with him. However, his fellow samurai did not like the fact that one of them fell in love and married a ninja. You see, daughter samurai consider us less than they are, simply because we do anything that is necessary to ensure victory. He would be one of the founders of our clan too, had he not been killed by his best friends, who ultimately died in the fight. The ones that tricked these friends into killing her husband had an ulterior motive. They wanted to use the man's wife as a sex slave. So for 5 years they used her in the most horrible and cruel ways, and it is said that she suffered immensely during these 5 years, so much so that her tears were so filled with sadness and suffering that as she cried her eyes began to lose color. At the end of the 5 years her eyes were very much like ours, and using these eyes, she hunted down the 5 samurai that had tormented her. She eventually ran away and became one of the first clans to join Konoha. She married and had 10 children before her death, as she gave birth to her last 10 children, became the very first Hyuga, and they all had her eyes. So that is why you train us so harshly, I understand now father. Hiashi smiled at his daughter, daughter, I may train you harshly, because we would never want you to share the same fate as our founder. The way you fight was also invented by her. I told you she was a gentle and kind lady, in this village she was called the Gentle Fist. Hiashi then turned to look at his daughter, now, daughter I have a question of my own. Would you answer it? Hinata did as her father and nodded. I have seen the gentleness of your fist slowly vanish, mind telling me why are you making your fist that vicious? Hinata looked at him and smiled, because being gentle should be to my family, friends and loyal allies, but to my enemies, I will show no mercy. I will tear them apart with my own hands and make them see the error of attacking me. Hiashi could see that his daughter was no longer the shy and timid little girl. That is a very harsh way to look at things, Hinata. Can you live with killing your enemy in such a way? Hinata looked at him, we are ninja, father, we kill from the shadows and we do what most would not, but we do because it must be done. If they think I am a weak timid little girl, let them attack, I will show them the truth. Hiashi watched his daughter walk away and when he could not see them, he cried, but not out of sadness, but out of sheer pride. That's my little girl. The final meeting before the Chunin exams was the next day, Kurenai and Naruto told them that they needed to work together as a team. Hinata asked where Shino and Kiba were during the month. They were training in their clan's compound. Learning clan techniques and such. I could have helped them train, but they chose to focus on their clan's teaching, so in the end I only trained you, Hinata. Naruto finished answering the question. Kiba was not happy to hear that he had spent so much time alone with his Hinata. Hey wait a second, since when did he call Hinata his? Hey, Shino, is my love for Hinata that obvious? Shino looked at their teachers, as obvious as the fang tattoo on your face. Kiba could not understand why Hinata had done nothing to get closer to him, she has done nothing, because you have done nothing either. You need to make your intentions clear to her. Kiba asked if his bugs were helping read his mind, I know you, you are like an open book to me. He went to the meeting with the Hokage. Well, does everyone think their students will do well? Every single teacher told him that they believed in their students. Very well, there has been a change in the second phase of the exams. Anko was supposed to be the only proctor for it, but now I want Death to also be a proctor. Naruto and Anko both scowled and both stepped closer to the man's desk. Why do I have to be proctor with him? They both asked, pointing at each other. There might be a serpent in these exams, a serpent that you want dead, Anko. Death is an accomplished hunter. If anyone can get rid of that snake, it's him. During the second phase you both will be allowed to kill as you see fit. But I warn you, Anko. You attack him and he will end your life that very moment. Make no mistake, he might look young, but he is not named Death without a real reason. Kurenai stepped closer to her friend. Anko, my maid is honor bound to kill all those that attack him. Make no mistake, you attack and he will kill you. Anko laughed at her little warning. You do not need to frighten me, Kurenai. I will not take your mate from you. But you better be sure to invite me to your wedding when it happens. Kurenai laughed too. Likewise, how are you and Iruka doing lately? Anko looked at her and smiled. Very well, thank you. We might end up in a double wedding if things continue as they are. Naruto and Asuma were listening to what was happening in the exam room. Good, at least I know my students will not give up without putting their best. Asuma for some reason did not like the sound that, care to put your money where your mouth is. Naruto looked at Iman and they both made bets, then their team would pass. Both Kurenai and Anko could hardly believe it, they were behaving like kids during lunch break. Both their teams are going to pass, what was the point in making the bet? True enough, both teams passed. What have I done to you to make you hate me this much? Naruto asked Asuma and Asuma glared at him. I had my eye on Kurenai since we were students and because of you. She is not where she ought to be, with me. Naruto just gave a loud sigh. You snooze, you lose, simple as that. I put in the effort and did the work to win her heart and she made her choice and it just happens to be me. So what do you really think of her? Asuma trying to provoke him into saying something wrong, something that would destroy the relationship, but he got something he never wanted to hear. She is the light of my life in an otherwise dark nightmare, she is the warmth that keeps me alive and tenderness that heals the wounds the world gives me, she is my beloved partner and best advisor. She is the one that will make my house into a home and let me sleep in peace here and when we both meet our end, and lastly she is the mother of our children that we are yet to bring into this world. Does that answer your question, Asuma? Every single lady being ninja to the secretary were thinking the same thing while looking at Kurenai, but only Anko spoke it. You are one lucky woman, you do know that, right? Kurenai could have smiled and told her that she was, but instead she was frowning. Ask me that question after these exams and maybe, just maybe I will answer it. Anko saw beneath the underneath and could tell she was afraid what would happen in the forest. The first phase started out of 30 teams, 10 gave up when they heard the final question. No reason they would risk staying Genins forever. 2 from Suna, 2 from Iwa, and 6 from Konoha. After the groups left, the remaining teams were told that they passed. Ibiki told them the test was about information gathering and resolve. Information had to be accurate and that information could save a village, so sometimes giving up would cost hundreds of lives. Then a smoke bomb went off and when it cleared there were 2 people, Anko and Death, and they told the teams to follow them to the second phase. On the gate to the 44th training zone, she explained everything about the exam, about the scrolls, and about why they had to sign the form. The team understood that they would have to attack another group to obtain the missing scroll. But just as she finished, someone threw a kunai at Death and he caught it with little effort. Asuna Kunoichi stepped forward and asked what his opinion on the kunai she threw at him. Naruto looked at the blade, touched the edge and twirled it between his fingers. He told her the edge was a little dull, the tip was not sharp enough and it was heavy on the left side. If she managed to fix that then it was a pretty nice blade. He threw the blade back at her and she did something that made the other feel so well, she caught it with her really long tongue, taking it back, thanked him for his opinion. Well, I will see you soon. She went back to her group and he told her to count on it. When the teams had left, Anko grabbed him and pulling him close, she glared at him. Look, I am really angry for 2 reasons. First, you are flirting with someone besides my friend, and lastly if you are going to do that, why not me? What, am I not good enough for you? Naruto took hold of her hands and got her to release him. I am not gay and I will meet that guy in the forest as soon as I can. Get your head on straight, he smelled of snakes, I would think you would pick up on that scent. Anko did not like where this was going. Well, look like you caught on at last, and yes, that was Orochimaru. Now can we go into the fun and enjoyable forest and kill us a snake, or do you want to give him more time to do what he came to do? There was no answer, he simply took off jumping from branch to branch. How would you find him? He told her he placed a tracker on that blade, if he had that blade he would find him. There was something simply vicious on the way he was moving, almost like he was a beast out on a hunt. Even the snakes in her coat wanted to get away from him. When they finally reached Team 7, Sai and Sakura were unconscious. The Suna Kunoichi was slowly walking toward Sasuke, who used a fire jutsu to try and kill her, but he only managed to make the person's real face appear. "Sasuke, jump right." Sasuke, hearing the voice, did as he was told. An electrified net was launched where he had been standing. It formed a barrier of sorts. "I told you I would meet you soon, Orochimaru. How about you fight me instead, and maybe, just maybe, I will keep your skull as my trophy." "Ah, so you really are the infamous fiend of Konoha. Fine, I will play with you, then take what is mine." Orochimaru was looking at Sasuke. He summoned a massive snake, and he appeared to have the idea that he was going to win without ever making a real effort. Faking some hand signs, he targeted the head with the visor and a shot from his plasma cannon, and the snake was dead. He threw a massive shuriken, and Orochimaru evaded. "Ha, missed me by a country mile." Naruto simply told him to look behind him. Behind. Orochimaru looked, and as he looked, his head was cut clean off. With a fire technique, he burned the remains to ash. "Do you really think you killed him?" Anko asked. Naruto told her, "No, but he will take some time before he gets a new body." "Speaking of bodies, turn around and take off your coat." This made Anko blush. "I am not doing anything of that kind. It's time to deal with your little seal problem." She was so happy that she took off her coat a little too fast, and the snakes were dropped along with her, and with a painful sounding thud, they hit the tree branch. "Sorry, I just want to help your friend." One of the snakes looked at him with a glare. "Stop wasting time and get that thing off her already." Naruto took his seal-making tools, and with a stroke of the pen and a few points pierced, out of the seal came a small snake, screaming till it was gone in a puff of smoke. "Congratulations, Anko, now you are seal-free. Just use a few ointments to relax the muscle and rub it with a nice aloe cream and you should be fine." He took the net off and rolled it back into a cartridge. "You alright, Sasuke?" Sasuke looked pissed. "Why didn't you let me kill him?" "I need to find Itachi and kill him for what he did to my clan." Naruto told him to shut up and listen. Sasuke knew he was not kidding. "Will killing Itachi bring your family back? Will obsessing over this cause you anything good?" Sasuke could only tell him, "But I have to honor my clan." Naruto hit him on the top of his head, "Then honor them with doing honorable deeds and bringing honor with your actions, not by killing your only brother, think about it." Sasuke and the rest of the team managed to finish the second phase, and when they reached it, they had enough time to rest. Naruto and Anko spent a few hours finding what happened to the groups that didn't make it. It was clear that the one that killed was Orochimaru, but it appears to be using another body that was clearly not his. Anko began to wonder how far his cursed seal research had progressed. Naruto even speculated that he used that body as a clone and the real one was somewhere watching and plotting his next strike. But why go after Sasuke and even attack him? Anko tried to figure the reasons behind Orochimaru's actions. Sasuke and the other got closer to listen to them talk as they were talking inside the tower. "Alright, let's figure out why he would want Sasuke. He is a egotistical pretty boy, had an ego bigger than the Hokage mountain, and cannot seem to focus on the bigger picture since he is always obsessed with killing his only relative. But enough about his good qualities." This made Sasuke glare at Naruto and everyone else laugh. "What does he have that Orochimaru has always wanted?" Anko knew where he was going. "Sharingan." Naruto nodded and smiled. "Exactly, he more than likely is using the cursed seal to take over the bodies of those that have it. He planned to give him one, then make him strong enough for his liking, then take the body over. He could then use that body to copy all the jutsu that he ever wanted or that ever existed. I know I would never do this normally, but thank you, Death." Sasuke looked at his with some respect. "Don't mention it. Become Chunin and I can consider that your payment. For the last phase, talk to Kakashi or me. Either of us can train you." Sai could not help but to feel left out. "What about my training?" Sai asked Naruto with an almost hurt look on his face. "It is obvious, if I train Sasuke, you will receive training from Kakashi. If Kakashi trains him, I will train you." This made Sai seem a little relieved. Sasuke then turned to look at Sakura. "What about you know how?" Naruto looked at her with a cold glare. "What about her? You mean will I train her?" The answer is also obvious. I hate to waste time. With her lack of discipline or determination, any training I give her would be just that. A waste of time. Her and I heard him say such cold things, but she could also see the hate in his tone. "Death, can I have a word with you? Alone?" This was the cue for everyone to leave. "Excuse us, we will be having a light lunch." The group pretended to leave and tried to listen in. Just as they moved to listen, Naruto told them to go to their lunch and stop trying to listen. He could see them quite clearly. The group left and allowed them to talk in some relative privacy. "Why do you hate Sakura?" Kurenai just went straight to the point, because of her, she put your life at risk, those explosives could have gone off sooner, depending on the fuse. Do you really think I would want to train the person that put my mate under such risk? Kurenai wanted to tell him that it would show what a kind person he was, but she knew her mate better than that. You would probably think that letting her live is mercy enough. Naruto pulled into a tight hug and a very passionate kiss. Just as they were kissing, Kakashi, Asuma, and Guy walked to where they were. So that answers the question where these two were. Come on, we have to see your teams fight. Asuma, maybe you should go to the doctor, you don't look so well. Asuma told him he was feeling fine, but neither he nor Guy were buying it, so they dragged him to the doctor. Who do I have to kill for some privacy around here? Naruto did not like their few minutes together to be interrupted. The fourth Kazekage heard what he said, and he decided to tell him he was wondering the same thing. I hear that Orochimaru is dead, I don't know whether to congratulate you or ask you if that is true. Naruto looked at the man and stepped closer to him. I know that filthy traitor is not dead, he must have been using the body of someone else and controlling it from far away. The Kazekage looked at him and asked how. I think the principle is the same with how your people control puppets. He is using his chakra somehow to control his victim. I was supposed to meet that person when I arrived to this village. I guess I should thank you for saving my life. Naruto asked that if he really felt thankful then he would allow him to modify the seal on his son. It was clear as day to him that the beast was not properly sealed and it was making him either uncomfortable or just raging mad. How do you know my son has a seal? Naruto looked at him, because he is a Jinchuriki just like I am. I am rather good with seals, if you don't believe me ask a lady named Anko Mitarashi. The fourth Kazekage told him that he would, and if what he heard was good, he would consider it. At the end of the conversation, Kurenai told him Hinata was going to fight her cousin Neji. He watched as Neji babbled on and on about how it was her fate lose and how she was supposedly weak. Hinata looked at Naruto and he gave her a sign to beat him really good and painful. Hinata nodded and took the new stance. Neji, being an expert on the gentle fist style, was not expecting her to use anything else. He threw a punch and instead of dodging it she caught it, using the momentum she gave him a kick to the family jewels and sent him flat on his stomach. You're just like everyone in the main family, fighting dirty is the only way you can win. Hinata was not affected at all. He threw another punch and caught his fist again, but this time he threw a second punch, almost wanting to catch her unawares, but with both hands caught, she flipped and threw him against a wall. Still dazed, she decided to give a series of vicious kicks to the gut, and as he was falling, she grabbed him and held both arms from behind and pushed his body forward with vicious kicks to the back. That is not the gentle fist style. Fight me fair, you stinking cowardly bitch. Hinata looked at him with a glare, as did most of the women watching. Neji, you are in for a rude awakening. She looked at Naruto, almost asking for permission to do something. He gave her permission, and Hinata turned off the gravity seal. She began to move a whole lot faster, and first she closed all his chakra pathways, then kicked his ribs so hard blood came out of his mouth, and finally gave him 2 punches to give him a pair of black eyes, and with a 2-handed strike knocked him out. If you ever insult me again, you will lose what little you have for balls. Hinata held him close, are we clear? Neji could not even follow her movements, he knew he was beat. Crystal. Hinata looked at the proctor with a glare. Call the match, or I will end it by killing the scumbag. This made the man call the match over, and the winner was Hinata. As she walked she saw Neji still rolling on the ground. She decided to give him a hard kick to his mouth, and that was for the bitch comment. Hinata walked over to her team, damn, Hinata, remind me to never piss you off. Kiba told her, while smiling. Shino was happy to see Hinata stand up for herself. Still planning to do away with that seal? Naruto asked and she told him yes, Neji was the way he was because he could not run away from the seal in the first place. Kiba's fight was over quickly, the gravity seal had done wonders for him and Akamaru. Some of the people watching could never imagine such attacks from such a cute puppy. Kiba and Akamaru were declared winners after they beat their opponent so bad that they had to take him away in a stretcher. Shino used his bugs and for some odd reason they also improved because of the seal. They sucked the opponent dry in a matter of seconds. With a weak heartbeat he was taken away. Sasuke's fight against Sakura was quick and efficient. He kicked the girl, and when she tried to distract him by flashing him her panties, that was when he was really angry, he used a fireball jutsu and made the girl take the fight more seriously. She attacked him, and using his family style he knocked her out. Like I'd be interested in someone so unskilled and weak. Zabuza's daughter, now there is a kunoichi I wouldn't mind getting to know. Ino did not like the sound of that, and from the blush on Haku's face, she did like the sound of that. Zabuza was in tears, saying things like kids grow up so fast. The final match was Lee against Gaara, and Gaara was going on and on about how his mother wanted his blood. The Kizikage asked the Hokage to suspend the fight because he needed to ask someone for a favor. The Hokage had no idea what he wanted but agreed to stop the fight. The Kizikage told him to call the other teacher who was next to Kurenai. Naruto walked over to the man. "Do you accept?" The Kizikage, with tears in his eyes, said yes. "Please, fix the seal, I can't stand seeing my son like this anymore." He jumped down and walked over to Gaara. "Gaara, I will make the pain go away, I will make it so you can sleep and be stronger." Gaara looked at him and with a sneer he told him he had no idea what he was talking about, how could anyone know his pain? "I know, because I was like you. Come on, brother, trust me." Gaara threw a punch at him and Naruto, using 10 shadow clones, held him down, and while down he modified the seal. He then touched the seal and entered Gaara's mind. "I know you were in pain, but it is fixed now. You will feel no more pain." The one-tailed beast looked at him and began to change into a strong-looking woman with short brown hair. "Thank you. But what do you want in return?" He looked at her and smiled, a smile that made her blush. "I want for you and Gaara to get along, you both should work together, like I do with Kurama, let the kids sleep, and you need to relax. Life is harsh enough, you two can make a beautiful friendship and make life better for both of you." She began to cry and laugh at the same time. "You got yourself a deal. Thanks for all the help, brother." Kurama appeared and smiled at her. "Think nothing of it, sister." As he exited his mind, he heard someone clear his throat. "How do you stand the hate? How do you stand the glares that do not stop? How can you help me when you never even met me?" Naruto gave him a hug. "Because I have someone that loves me and because you are my brother. Look at your sister and older brother, for people that care for you, they do. Even you father does." Naruto excused himself and walked towards the Kizikage. "What do you want for your help?" Naruto smiled at him. "We are allies, aren't we? You don't need to give me a thing, what are friends for?" Gaara for some reason had better control over the sand and was able to withstand Lee's opening 4 of the gates. At the end the match was called a draw. They both advanced to the final phase. "Thank you for a really tough fight." Gaara held out his hand. Lee shook it and began to tell all what he was expecting. "Yosh, I thank you for a most youthful fight, the fires of youth burn bright in you indeed." Guy was in tears as he heard Lee say that. Naruto walked towards Sasuke and asked him what he had decided. He in turn asked why not train Hinata, Kiba or Shino. Naruto told him that they each wanted to focus on training with their own clan. He offered Sai or Sasuke because either of them could benefit from the training. He asked about Sakura. He told him that Sakura needed to do much in improving her values and priorities. "Take a look at Ibiki and you will see a man who sacrificed a lot and will sacrifice a lot more, but he stands strong. Why? Because he knows that as ninjas, you are supposed to protect people but never be recognized for your deeds. He sacrificed his own personal ambitions to make sure this village stays safe. A man protects his home. A husband protects his wife, a father protects his children, and a brother protects his siblings. Think on that last part and tell me who will train you." Sasuke told him he would prefer Kakashi, he had a Sharingan and therefore would be better to train him and how he was to use it properly. "Well, Sai, looks like you are going to train with me. How about you stop hiding and we go somewhere to tell you what to expect from your training." Sasuke could not understand what he was talking about, but Sai jumped down from the ceiling and made himself known. "How long did you know I was up there?" Naruto smiled. "Since you climbed that wall, you should know, Sai. You can't hide from my eyes." Naruto decided to meet him early in the morning, the next day. He told Kurenai that she could train Hinata, this of course made her very happy. They both walked out of the tower and they saw the boy Naruto was sure was Orochimaru's spy. The glare of absolute hatred he was giving him was a dead giveaway. "If I were you, I would look for your master, he must not be in such a good mood." The Budo smiled and thanked him for his advice and that he would do just that. Naruto walked close to his mate and told her they needed to talk somewhere private. She of course told him that Anko's apartment was the perfect place, other people seemed to avoid that place like it was cursed or something. The two got in and they were met by Anko, who was relaxing in her apartment after what happened in the forest. "So to what do I owe the pleasure of your visit?" Kurenai stepped forward and told her they needed a place to talk in private. Her mate had something to tell her but did not want to wait to get to their home to hear it. Hearing this, she too wanted to hear what the blonde had to say, but first she needed to ask one question. "How do you know the language of snakes?" Naruto looked at her and she told him that everyone that signed the snake contract would also gain the ability to talk to snakes. Naruto demanded that she never reveal the answer and she agreed. "I have visited many other worlds and many other cultures, one of them evolved from serpents, so of course I know that language." This made Kurenai curious. She asked him for more details. He had no reason to share the knowledge, since they would probably never get to go to this world. Maybe Kurenai, but not without the elder's approval, and he did not think he would ever agree to that. A planet very far from here, called Rasculo. There live a society of snake people. The planet is mostly aquatic and a few continents with jungles. They speak the language and are some of the best when it comes to making, selling of both venoms and antidotes. There is no better antidote in the universe than a Rasculian antidote. My friend Ra saved me and my brother Wolf when we were hunting in one of their jungles. We ate something and didn't realize it was poisonous. Roz was gathering ingredients for antidotes and saw us. He saved us and became very good friend with us. I have not much to complain about the guy, but he is too formal and direct in how he speaks. Anko understood what he was saying, her snakes were exactly like that. As for the dogs, there is another planet named Rowler. The Rowlians are a people that evolved from wolves, as far as they told us. They have a very military-based society, and the only time I talked to them was when my clan was sent there to hunt a traitor to our clan. He killed a pregnant female because he did not want to recognize the child as his. I stayed on the planet long enough to learn the language and to make friends with the poor female. I expect my godson is doing fine. Naruto was a fine boy when I finally killed his father. The bug language I picked from dealings my clan has with the Neferian hierarchy. The Neferians are a race of people who, as you can guess, evolved from beetles. They are one of the few races that has space travel capabilities. They live and control 3 planets and 2 moons. The only problem I ever had was when the elder tried to get me to marry the daughter of the queen. That was not pleasant. Her and I asked for a better explanation. They chose their mates on strength. So in order to get to be determined not worthy to be her mate, I had to let her beat me something fierce. I spent a solid month healing the injuries. The elder told me she hit me harder than usual because she already had her eyes on someone else. To this day I wish she had told me we could work some other way to prove that I was unworthy. I was invited to the wedding, but for obvious reasons I did not attend. I hope this satisfies your curiosity. Anko wanted to know more about the snake world, but Kurenai told him to tell them what he really wanted to tell them. Orochimaru is not dead. I think that he was controlling that body from afar, using what's something akin to chakra strings, as far as Kurama has told me. It is obvious that he was planning to kill the Kazekage and use Suna to destroy the village. There is also the obsession with stealing the body of Sasuke. I offered to train him to prevent this, but he would rather train with Kakashi for obvious reasons. So I need someone to keep an eye on the Kazekage while he is in the village. I was thinking that Kurenai could offer to be a tour guide. As much as I hate having her near him, I have few choices. Kurenai grabbed hold of him. You listen, and you listen good. I am yours, and anyone else who tries to sleep with me will lose their balls. Anko looked at the pair with an almost creepy smile. Yes, Anko, I have slept with him. Naruto looked at her, and I enjoyed it immensely. After such declaration, Kurenai kissed him and was until Anko pretended to clear her throat. I can be a tour guide, and Kurenai can tell your suspicions to the Hokage and the Anbu commander. Now, as far as I enjoy a public display of affection, I think your mate wants something a little bit more enjoyable, if you get my meaning. So please go to your own home and I will take care of things on my end. Kurenai and Naruto left her apartment and headed straight for their home. She was surprised that the house had little damage. He reminded her that with his knowledge of construction methods, it would take a lot more than dynamite to cause their home any real lasting damage. He would have to replace that window, but that was easy. 30 minutes later the house looked like nothing had happened. He opened the door for her and she stepped inside. As she stepped inside he took her up in his arms and carried her to their bedroom. He really wanted to make love with her, but she told him that today was not a good day. She insisted to become a mother only after what she considered a proper wedding. So he took a very cold shower and slept in a different room. He knew that if she was close he would want to be with her, and he respected her too much to insist on it. After a particularly lonely, cold and restless evening, they woke up, they gave each other a good morning kiss, and ate their breakfast. Now Death, why don't you tell me the real reason why you wanted to train Sai? Naruto smiled at his mate because it might give me an idea how tough the training of Danzo's route really is. Orochimaru was not acting alone. He had help from someone, and the perfect person to do that would be Danzo. Kurenai asked him why he believed that. He is a dear friend to our current Hokage. You know how trusting the man is. Do you think he would suspect him of using Orochimaru to kill him and take over as Hokage? It was no big secret that Danzo was in fact always after the position of Hokage. Some believed that he still wanted the position even now. So it would make sense for him to use Orochimaru. The snake sage would jump at any chance of destroying the village for the same reason that he would kill Hiruzen. Orochimaru also wanted to be Hokage, but Minato was named Hokage instead. This caused his betrayal of the village in the first place. How do you plan to spy on Sai and Danzo? He smiled and told her that he had a special modified gravity seal that would record everything the person wearing it would say or hear. He then pointed at the scroll. That scroll had a seal that would transcribe everything from the other seal. How much do you really know about seals? Naruto kissed her. Just as much as an elder Uzumaki. Naruto excused himself and went to meet his trainee, leaving a very shocked Kurenai. The Uzumaki were known to be masters at the sealing arts. She left to meet Hinata and they would have some time to train and do the thing most would expect, gossip. Very well, Sai, how about you stop hiding and come over here? There is something I need to do before we begin. Sai jumped out of the bushes behind him. He was sure that he was in his blind spot. Your breathing and smell gave you away. We didn't bother with washing our teeth this morning, did we? Sai told him that he was excited to see what he had planned for his training. Naruto asked first to tell him everything he could do and his strange drawing ability made him smile. Very well, you will work on your physical strengths, learn a new fighting style, and finally with the help of learning about seals your paint attacks should improve a lot. Now you are getting a seal that will stay on till I tell you to take it off. And don't try to lie, for I will know when you try to turn it off or try to take it off. Sai under his instructions exposed the top part of his body. Naruto drew the seal and placed it on his back while removing what seemed to be a self-destruction seal from the same place. Very well, we shall start with 500 push-ups, 500 pull-ups, and 300 laps around this place. When you are done with that warm-up, you will start learning the fighting style through spars with me, and I will teach you about seals as we let our bodies cool down. Got it? Sai nodded his head. Well, don't waste time and get to it. Sai could hardly hold his breath after he finished the supposed light warm-up. He asked him why he felt so heavy. As Naruto let him catch his breath, he explained that the seal he was now wearing was a gravity seal. This seal would make it so that all his body would be under a much greater weight. The seal would help him build muscle and stamina. Later next week the weight would double, then he would have to start using chakra constantly just to move. He would explain next week. They fought each other for 2 hours and Sai was sure of two things: he was happy not to be his enemy and that he was taking it easy on him. The basics of the style were harder than he figured. After they were done he explained how seals worked and how he could incorporate different seals on each of his ink-based attacks. He explained that it was much like a painter adding his signature on a finished painting. This made the entire concept more easy for him to understand. The month they would practice and create different seals for him to feel comfortable using. He left him with an idea: what if he didn't need a scroll to write on? What if he could draw in the air instead? The idea was crazy to Sai, but it was food for thought. The first week was just as Naruto expected. He made Sai work to the bone, and Sai did not complain, not even once. At the very least not when he was present. Thanks to the seal he could read what his trainee was saying about him in private, and it was something between slave driver and wanting to make him work till he dropped dead. But she found pretty funny, since he also had the same thoughts when Void was making him do even worse things to make sure he knew everything he needed to survive. He knew then that if he ever saw his mother, he would have to apologize to her and thank her for everything she did for him. Sai did not meet with Danzo that week since he was too busy trying to get all the information he needed to send to his pawn and try not to make Orochimaru realize that he was being used. Minato's death was a happy occasion for him but quickly became his worst day. His old friend decided to take back the position of Hokage, denying him yet again his rightful position and denying Konoha the right to have a leader that would make them the strongest hidden village ever. Saturday came and Sai had progressed rather quickly in his training. But this was the day that he told his student to turn off his seal, which he did, and for a split second he felt like he could fly. He felt as light as a feather and did all the warm-up exercises like it was nothing at all. He asked Naruto what was going on. Naruto laughed and told him that today his body would get used to his new speed and stamina. During the break after the warm-up exercises he explained the way he would use his chakra. He would use it to strengthen his muscles, as he was going to need to use it to be able to move. After all, the next time he activated the seal, his weight would be twice as before. Sai asked what was the purpose of him having to use chakra while living under the seal. Naruto told him that it would slowly increase his chakra capacities and it would also prove to be useful during battle. Sai started using his chakra to strengthen his muscles during the sparring matches, and even though he was faster and thanks to his use of chakra stronger, he was still beaten by Naruto, who looked like he was still taking it easy on him. The seal practice too seemed to be going great. With his new speed he did not take as long as to finish him ink-based attacks or the seals. The final lecture of the day was on how to ride on air. He taught him that with enough chakra control, a person could gather chakra into the air and make it possible to write seals on it and make it look like he was riding on air. As the day was over he activated the seal once again, but this time Sai was flat on the ground. Now you see why you need to use chakra all the time when the seal is on, right? Sai used chakra like he did on their spars and slowly stood up. I just did not expect it to feel that heavy. Naruto laughed and told him to be ready and picture how it would feel after the month was over. He remembered that wonderful feeling of being faster and feeling lighter. This feeling made him feel better about the trouble he endured while using the seal. The scroll that was transcribing what he said stopped recording complaints. The scroll stopped recording anything out of the ordinary. This made him feel that Sai actually was getting used to his seal. He did read something at the middle of the week, apparently Sakura wanted to train and was asking him if the person training him could also train her. Sai told her to follow him Saturday and maybe his trainer would allow it, but he knew that it was almost certain that he would not. The guy was brutal and his training regiment made Guy seem like he was actually taking it easy with Lee. The training continued and he began to grasp the basics of his fighting style. It was as if he was learning by seeing how it was done, teaching by example. Naruto used the same training method his mother used. Predator mothers teach by example, they rarely lecture, and they never expect their children to do anything they cannot do themselves. Void would call his training a day having fun. But these women did not have the benefit of the blood infusion. The blood of his mother gave him a home, a family and strength that these women could only dream about. Thanks to the seal, he could beat the elder if he really wanted to. Saturday finally came and Sakura was following Sai and he knew it. As he stood in front of Naruto, Naruto looked at the trees above them. Sai, remind me, when did I say you could bring guests? Sai told him he never even asked. So please tell me why is a certain pink-haired teammate of yours up on that tree? Sai was surprised to see that Naruto could see her. Sakura, you have two choice, either come down here and tell me why you are here or I will think that you are going to try and ambush me to try and kill me. If you don't come down in 10 seconds, I will go up there and end your life. Sakura was stunned by this until she heard him start counting. When the count reached 5 she jumped down the tree and slid down the tree trunk till she was standing on the ground. I want you to train me. Sasuke had Kakashi training him, Sai has you. I am the only one without someone training me. Naruto stood in place and looked at her with as much killer intent as he could muster. Sakura looked like she did when she met Zabuza for the first time. He dropped his killer intent and walked over to her. You betrayed me once already, tell me why I should train you or even speak with you at all. And don't even try to pretend to cry, tears have no effect on me. Sakura looked at him and genuinely felt sad. I want to grow stronger so that Sasuke can see I am a better choice than Haku. Naruto walked over to Sai and told him to begin the warm-up after he deactivated the seal to get used to his body. Sai did and began moving a whole lot faster. Naruto continued to watch Sai work out and did not say a word. Will you train me? Naruto did not even look at her. No. I will not. Sakura walked over to him and demanded to know the reasons. I do not waste my time, Sai is a dedicated, focused, and properly motivated student. That is why I train him. To help him achieve his goals because I believe they are goals worth pursuing. You are not like him. Sakura asked him to tell her the real reason. You want to train to attract a guy, therefore you want to grow stronger for selfish reasons. That sort of reason is weak and I do not waste my time. When you figure out why you should really be stronger, come and find me. Then I will train you, but not before. Sai and Naruto began their spar and Naruto saw something that made him began to use a higher form of his fighting style. It seemed Sai was progressing rather well. It made him feel proud for his student and happy that he was closer to seeing Sai ready to pursue his goals. Sakura saw how brutal his attacks were and began to think a real reason. Naruto hates selfish reasons, but what other reasons were there? Then it hit her, for selfless reasons. To protect the village, to protect innocent people like in the bridge mission, to make sure he could always be strong enough to protect others and not worry his loved ones. It was simple, yet almost poetic. The two began their lecture and questions and answers segment of their training. Death, I have a reason why you should train me. Naruto stood and waited her answer. To protect the innocent, this village and to be strong enough to help and not worry my loved ones. Naruto smiled. So you finally see why pursuing just one guy is a waste of time. If you want him, that is not important. Become strong, become capable, and sharpen your skills, and you will not have to chase him. Your man will find you. Sai liked that answer and so did Sakura. He told her something that made her blush so much that he was expecting her hair to burst in flames. He told her to take off her top and showed him her back. Sai told her that it was for a very special seal. He had one too. Sakura turned around and took off her clothes off except her bra. He took out his pen and needles and began to draw the seal, a regular seal, that would look just like the one on Sai. He activated it and Sakura felt like another Sakura was on top of her. This is a gravity seal and you will not turn it off, I will know if you do, and if you do it without my permission, your training is over. Naruto told Sai to teach the new student the regular training regiment. She was ready to faint by the time they finished doing the warm-up. Alright, this is our daily warm-up. Sakura looked at him as if almost hoping that he was kidding. Now you spar with death and then I think he will pick a subject for you to focus on. Sakura walked over to him and tried to hit him using the standard academy style. He caught every punch and every kick and countered them. Then he looked at his eyes and saw as if he was using the Byakugan. You are in my field of vision. This really scared her and she tried more desperately to knock him out. There was no way she wanted him to use the gentle fist style. After the spar he told Sai to teach her the basics of the style he was teaching him. Sai agreed. Sakura asked what she was going to learn and he told her she was going to learn basic medical techniques. But be warned, since you joined this training from the second week, you would have to work harder than Sai to catch up. First complaint, the very first plea for me to take it easy and you are out. As she began to walk towards her now empty home, she began to wonder why he was so severe with his students. She began to wonder why he fought against Sai with such vicious attacks and almost seemed like he was aiming to kill him. His lectures had no fun comments, it was clear to the point and dry as a bone that had been dried by the sun. She finally saw someone who would know the answers and so she asked a few questions to Kurenai. Kurenai was happy to answer her questions. Eth teaches like that because it is his way to make sure his students live. He said it once that it is better to get beaten and injured in practice and live than to be beaten and die on the field of battle. Enemies would have no pity on them, so he would make them feel what that would be like in a generally safe way. He simply cares about his students and wants them to live. Sakura told her that it was not as if they were going to find any more enemies in the exams now that Orochimaru was out of the picture. Death thinks that the final phase will be a tournament between the people taking the exams. So in a sense there will be a miniature war in that stadium. So he will make sure his students come out of it alive. Ino decided to meet up with a rival she now believed to be still mute when she greeted Sakura using her nickname for her and Sakura called her the nickname she had for her. She was surprised to say the least. Sakura, how in the world can you talk? Sakura looked at her and she had a very serious look. The Hokage decided to do something about my trauma. Ino asked what the Hokage did. Sakura explained that first he gave her a verbal beatdown about being too stupid for her own good, then he explained that the fact that she told her mother a secret did not cause her death and her mother was the only one responsible for her own death. When that did not work he locked her in a room with no way out other than to call for help. The Hokage pretty much told her, you speak or you starve to death, your choice. I got things to do but I will check on you every few days. And the idea of dying and being hungry already pretty much made me scream for him to let me out in 2 minutes that I was trapped down there. Go ahead Ino pig, I know you want to make fun of it. Don't hold back on my account. Go ahead and let loose. But do it quickly, I got one hell of a training tomorrow. Ino understood what she was talking about, fear could be a great motivator, but what training? As far as she knew all teachers were busy training students from their own teams. I know now why he was named Death, because his training is liable to kill me. Sakura began telling her former rival her new training schedule and she could not believe it. Are we sure this guy is not related to Might Guy? Sakura joked that if he wore the jumpsuit and started spotting the same speech, they might even seem like brothers. I can even imagine him saying the whole flames of youth and making a crazy bet involving some form of exercise. Little did the two know that Naruto was listening to their conversation. So she wants to see me say that, well she did rather well for her first day, why don't I give her a nice scare? The very next day she walked towards the training field, she tried to run, but under the seal that was not going to happen. When Sai and Sakura arrived to the training field they saw something that sent chills down their spines. Death was actually behaving very happy to see them. Yosh, my youthful students have arrived, are you ready to make the flames of your youth burn brighter than the sun? Sakura and Sai looked at each other thinking the same thing, please, tell me you are joking. The warm-up exercises were over and Sai first fought Naruto to learn more advanced moves for the style he was learning and then Sai fought Sakura to continue teaching her the basics. As they finished and went on to the lecture segment of the training, Sai continued to practice making his seals and trying to get chakra to concentrate in the air enough to ride on. Sakura received a lecture on pressure points and poisons. When the group was ready to leave they saw Might Guy and Lee walking together. Naruto looked at his students ready to complete their nightmare training session. Yosh, my youthful students, you have shown me how brighter the flames of youth burn in you. I promise to do my best to train you to be Chunin, and if I fail I will do 500 laps around Konoha on my hands. I and Lee both looked so happy that they finally had someone that felt like they did. Yosh, and if you fail I will do 2000 push-ups with just my thumbs. Sakura was looking up into the sky and was praying. Please dear God, let this nightmare be over. Followed by an amen from Sai. Sai, Guy and Lee left and there were only Sakura and Naruto. I think that will teach you not to gossip about your training. Sakura looked at him and could swear that he did the whole thing to teach her a lesson. This tournament is to earn a higher rank with the ninja of a village. I expect your opponents to do anything, from poison your food to even spy to learn how you are training. Remember, the girl you were talking with could be your opponent in the final phase. Sakura could kick herself for not thinking along those lines. She told Ino everything about their training. As for punishment, she suddenly felt a lot heavier. Use chakra on your limbs to make them stronger. She followed his instructions, and it worked. Now you do that till your training is over at the end of the month. Sakura asked him the reason for the punishment. You are a ninja, you should know how helpful the element of surprise is. This will increase your speed, strength, stamina and chakra capacity. This should be useful when you go up against those people that were spying on you and your friend. She looked at him with relief, so you were not the only one listening to what we were saying. Who says I was there to listen? I was there to make sure you were safe after your training and see what else I needed to teach you. Sakura could hardly believe this guy was someone she called a demon. She remembered all the time training with Kakashi, and this guy in 2 days made Kakashi look like an absolute joke as a teacher. And so the week continued and the training got more difficult and harder. The way his clan teach their young was not for the faint of heart or those of weak resolves. Children either grow and adapt or they die. Sakura was really something when she finally got out of her fangirl phase. She actually was now on par with Sai on knowledge and level on their seals. The last thing that changed was one of the things she always hated about herself. She always hated to feel and be called flat-chested. But now she had a respectable C-cup-sized breasts. When she asked Naruto, he told her that women contain most of their chakra in their breasts. So if your opponent was a DD, you know you are in for one hell of a fight. The day they both deactivated their seals, Sai was used to the feeling, but not Sakura, and she was really enjoying it. The exercises seemed like nothing, and the spar was becoming easier for both of them. During the lecture part, they both asked how could they tell the level of the gravity seal when active. Naruto looked at them and showed them his right palm. The seal was there and active. It's surrounded by black marks. He told them the number of marks was the level. This came to be a major shock. He had a level 12 gravity seal the entire time, and they had to really work to get used to level 2. Sai and Sakura then realized he did teach by example, and he pushed himself harder than he ever pushed them. They truly understood the caring nature of the man before them, and as appreciation they would work harder so that one day they too could reach a level close to his. Sai practiced on the seals and Sakura learned about toxins and to combine different things to make different effects happen in a human body. They ranged from healing to write down kill, from making someone aroused to the point of insanity, to sad to the point of suicide. The mixture combination were endless and in some cases very frightening. When they activated the seal and he made sure it was the right level, he was asked one question by both of them: when do you turn your seal off? Naruto looked at them and said that only when he needed to protect someone he really cared for or when he was in a fight that could end his life. Otherwise he never deactivated his seal. He was already wearing the maximum level after all. By the 3rd week, Sakura was getting some people to really give her looks of interest. She had continued to practice the basics on her own, and now they both were sparring against Naruto at the same time. Sai for once in his life felt like he was learning from someone worthy of his respect, but this respect was earned and not demanded from him like Danzo did to the other people en route. Sai began making seals in the air and it was a lot of fun. Sakura could mix a medicine or a poison and make them look exactly the same, only she knew the difference. During the last week he began to teach them how to actually use a weapon. The theory was simple, but the practice made what they learned in the academy look like a joke. He told them that a weapon was not a simple thing to use to kill things with, it was a part of them. As such, they needed to learn to maintain and repair their weapons, just as they would heal and maintain their bodies. Sakura asked him why did they need to learn how to mend a katana or a kunai. There were blacksmiths that could do that. Naruto looked at her and with a cold glare he asked her one question: how do you know if that blacksmith is not making your weapon weaker so that someone else can kill you later? Sai understood the meaning behind the question. They needed to know because then they would be able to tell how strong their weapon was or their opponent's. There were a lot of samurai that died because their sword broke when they needed it the most. That Saturday Kurenai went to meet her mate and see how their students were doing. She saw both of his students fight at an incredible speed after the spar was over. Naruto told them that their seals would upgrade every time they deactivated them. To take their time, and in a matter of a few years they would catch up to his. He also warned them that if they tried to make the seal the highest sooner than they were ready, their bodies would not handle the strain, and they would die. Sakura and Sai knew that he was telling the truth and trusted him. Beth, I have to be honest with you. Danzo is planning to kill the 3rd Hokage during the final fight of the tournament. He always hated the Hokage for keeping him from becoming Hokage himself. Naruto smiled at him. I also have to be honest, that seal also has a spy seal on it. I placed it there to know what you were listening and saying. Finally the seal of the root, I took it off. It was a self-destruct seal that he could activate with a single word and kill you, leaving nothing but ash. Sakura asked if she also had a seal like Sai and Naruto told her she did. It is meant to get to know your students. I simply used it to spy on Sai's activities and to learn about you, Sakura. They both understood the reason and they both thanked him for his honesty. Sai also thanked him for saving his life, and now that he knew about seals, he could try and make the others en route see the truth about Danzo and his seal. Sakura ran home and was getting ready to give the people in the tournament a real surprise. Kurenai walked over her mate and smiled at him. She even joked that maybe he should consider teaching a squad of his own. I told you, my love. I will never join this village and I will never be under the orders of the Hokage, but I will help the current Hokage since he is honorable. My only loyalty is to my clan and to you. Really important people, civilians and even some mayor businessmen showed up for the exams. The final phase was going to be a tournament held in the village arena. Naruto and Kurenai did the last checks on their plan. Naruto would see the fights hidden near the Hokage and Kazekage. Kurenai would watch out for Genjutsu and see if she could spot anyone from route nearby. The things were going to happen as they deduced. Danzo would try and attack Hiruzen, and he would have his route attack the leader of Fire Country. Without effective leadership, he would take over not only the village but the nation as well. Sound and Kabuto would be the initial distraction and the signal for his forces to attack. Due to the actions of Naruto, Gaara was now a much more calm person, and his siblings were grateful for it. The Kazekage was too, but he had to look like it was nothing major. Any weakness he showed to others could lead to the death of his children. No father ever wanted that to happen. The Hokage finally stood up and began his introductory speech. Greetings to our guest and congratulations to the people who made it thus far. I know that you are wondering why do we hold the last part as a tournament in an arena. These exams were first made to stop the hidden villages from openly attacking each other and cause a war. So this last phase we can release all the pent-up anger we have and hold a small competition. The strength of the villages who pass make it so attacking them would be a losing prospect. So to protect your homes and your people, fight with everything you have. And so I start the final phase of these Chunin exams. The time between fights Naruto saw Hinata warming up. Kiba and Shino were in deep conversation with their partners. Sakura had gotten a shorter haircut and Sai was preparing several ink bottles. All in all it looked like they were ready for not only the exams but for anything that came their way. Hinata's fight began and was over so quick that Asuma did not finish lighting his cigarette when it was over. Kiba was looking at her and began shouting how great her fight was. Shino was happy that he knew at least one person would give him a decent enough of a challenge. Teaching Sai how to do seals was what really made the difference in his fight. He drew a tiger with an absorption seal as part of the tiger. This meant that every time the tiger attacked his opponent and touched him, he would absorb some of the opponent's chakra. Thus the tiger was self-sustaining. What really shocked everyone when Shino called the tiger a copycat. This made the people around him laugh. It seemed he did not like the idea of something else trying to do something his bugs did. I guess he always had a bit of pride in the abilities of his clan. Then Sakura was up to fight against one of the remaining sound ninja. The people that knew her believed that she was going to lose and fast. But Sakura simply took a mask and placed it on her face, and as the fight started the sound ninja tried to knock her out, but instead Sakura threw 3 strange-looking pouches. Sakura told her opponent to give up or be ready for a humiliation he would never forget. Her opponent flipped her off, which made Sakura snap her fingers, and one of the pouches burst open, and a strange color smoke came out and hit the opponent full blast. The sound ninja did not know what was going on, but he was laughing like he was told the best joke ever. Sakura again told him to give up. The man did not move and she snapped her fingers yet again. A green smoke hit her opponent next, and he began crying like they told him that his mother had killed herself. Sakura warned him that the last pouch would be the last thing he would ever see. The sound ninja did not believe her, and so she snapped her fingers one last time. A red smoke hit him, and he began to claw his own face. He looked like he had the worst itch ever, and as he clawed his own eyes out, he fell in a bloody mess on the ground, barely alive. Sasuke was heard telling Sai to remind him to never piss her off. Sai could not believe what had happened, then he remembered the things their teacher had taught them. The field was cleared of the opponent, carried out in a stretcher, and the air was cleared via wind jutsu and fire jutsu combination. Ino looked at Sakura and asked if she went all out on him. Sakura smiled and told her that she even took it easy on him. She had much worse than that, as she took out a small purple ball. The stuff in this thing wouldn't even leave his bones. She placed the ball back in the pouch, and Ino saw that she had balls and pouches of all different colors. She began to pray that she was not her opponent. Sakura took off her mask and watched the fight that came next. Sasuke used the Chidori against Gaara, but Gaara buried him up to his neck in sand. The thing he attacked was a sand clone. The new seal had done wonders for him, being able to think straight improved his fighting abilities immensely. As the final fight was between Gaara and Lee, people watched as the boy did wonders, even without the ability to use any jutsu. He fought Gaara with just his taijutsu and speed alone. But as the fight really began to intensify, the sound ninja jumped out of hiding around the village and began attacking the key places, such as the hospital and the academy. Sai managed to convince many of his friends of Danzo's betrayal and of his intentions for them. He removed their seals and were now fighting the sound ninja at the hospital and academy. They would save as many people as they could. Danzo went to him to inform him of someone trying to steal all the scrolls in the library. But this was a ruse, and the real reason was plain to see, as Danzo took a kunai and stabbed the man in the gut. "How long, Danzo? How long have you been planning to betray me, my old friend?" Danzo looked at him and told him since he was not selected to be the third Hokage, that he betrayed him first, by taking the position that should be his. Naruto still hidden, he threw his lance, and it went straight through him and nailed Danzo on a wall. He appeared and using his wrist blades he took his dead clean off. He walked over to Hiruzen and told him he had a medicine that could heal his injuries, but he had no knowledge on what it would do to an human of his age. Seeing that he only had seconds to live, he took the pill and swallowed it. The wound closed and it looked like he was perfectly alright, except that he could not feel his feet. The medicine had the negative consequence of paralyzing him from the hip down. Naruto apologized, but Hiruzen told him he made the choice. The Budo and 1/5 of his men escaped. The doctor told the Hokage that the medicines needed to work their way out of his system, and it looked like they needed a doctor to help the process along. The Kazekage and his people stayed to help the village rebuild. It was his way to thank them for what they managed to do for his son and for saving his life. As for the people who passed the Chunin exams, Sasuke, Sai, Hinata, Kiba and Shino passed. Sakura did not because she had betrayed the trust of someone important for the Hokage and thus proved to be unworthy to handle the duties of the rank. Temari and Gaara passed to Chunin, but Kankuro did not pass due to his attitude problem with a few of the village children. Sakura would gain the rank of Chunin when she had done enough things to prove that she had the right mindset to do her duty as a Chunin. Kankuro would become Chunin when he learned a lot about diplomacy. Naruto the very next day was called to the Hokage's office. The man was in a wheelchair and was not looking happy about something. "You know something, Naruto, the way you were treated and how the villagers treated you should have made me more aware how could supposed innocent people behave in dishonorable ways when they have a motive or enough greed." Naruto quickly told him not to call him that name. "Oh, alright, Death. I see that I am too old to lead this village and I want to ask you for a favor." Naruto put his foot down and he said that under no circumstance he would even consider taking that job. Hiruzen looked even more sad to hear him say that. "Look, I know that. What I want is for you and one of my students to find the only other student I have that will not harm Konoha." Naruto looked at him and was trying to figure why he would even ask him. This student could have gone with anyone, why ask him? He is your godfather. And since I told him you were alive, he has been constantly bugging me about being able to spend some time with you. Naruto asked for a description and the last known location she was last seen at. He simply told him that if his godfather was the infamous Jiraiya, then he could find this Tsunade a whole lot faster, without the drunken pervert slowing him down. "Please, as a favor for me, try to find my student with your godfather." He looked at the man with a cold glare. "My godfather is named Riptide, and he has been dead for over 10 years. You will not succeed in your scheme, old man. But I did promise to help you. So I will go, but so help me, if I catch him peeping at my mate, he will have to learn Braille, because I will rip his rotten eyes out, clear." Hiruzen understood why he was so very protective of Kurenai. Naruto loved her and would always want people to respect her. Maybe she was the way to get Naruto to rejoin the village. In short amount of time, he improved relations with Suna, exposed Danzo, and most of the root have either become regular ninja or joined Anbu. Naruto went to the obvious place the stinking pervert would be, the place where he would be able to keep hidden and still be able to look into the women's bathhouse. He saw the man watching a group of women. "Hey, stop disturbing those ladies and let's go. We have a lot of ground to cover and little time." Jiraiya told him that he was busy with his research, not that a brat like him would understand. Naruto was not going to let those comments go without some sort of punishment. Then he remembered that Anko had let him sign the snake contract, so he summoned one of his new summons. The snake was a very tough-looking lady snake, the one he first summoned when Anko showed him how to summon. "Kissa, I need you to scare the pervert so we can get on with our mission, could you please help me with that?" "Of course, Death. I would be honored to punish the pervert. Just wait a few minutes for the women in the bathhouse to finish beating on him." Naruto watched as Kissa scared him so badly that he fell into the women's side, and just as Kissa said, the women beat him to an inch of his life. Kissa was the eldest daughter of the snake boss, so no wonder she could strike some fear into the pervert. "Do you have any idea who I am?" Jiraiya asked as he stood up and looked at him. "From what I heard, a drunken pervert that likes to write smut." Jiraiya began his ridiculous little dance and called himself the Honorable Toad Sage. Then he decided to tell him that he was wrong, that he was not a pervert, but a super pervert. He turned to Kissa and asked her if she wanted to eat him whole. She told him that she did not want something as rotten as him in her stomach for the next couple of months. Kissa disappeared. You are also supposed to be my uncaring, heartless, and generally slacker of a godfather. Look, we have wasted enough time, we have to find Tsunade and I want to get this over quickly. I have better things to do than spend my free time with the man that abandoned his duty to me since I was old enough to think. Jiraiya asked him if they wanted to learn a few of his father's techniques as the two left the village gates. You mean the Rasengan and the Flight of the Thunder God? Jiraiya was surprised that he knew of them already. Yes, I can teach you the Rasengan. Naruto looked at him and told him if he was going to talk nonsense, at the very least walk while he did it. But the Rasengan is really hard to learn and it is really useful. Naruto was sick of his constant telling him that, and with very little effort, he made a Rasengan appear in both hands. You mean this thing? Now if you don't mind, I need to find that lady called Tsunade. You are supposed to be a spy master, why not try and be useful? They both decided to follow his newest report. There was a massive poker tournament in a village a few days from there. Tsunade was definitely going to be there. Little did he know that convincing her would take a lot more effort than what he first figured. But there was something that was clear, failure was not an option. When they finally arrived at the town where the poker tournament was going to be held, Jiraiya had to ask Naruto how in the world was he going to get even close to her. He took out his wallet and it had enough money to enter the tournament, then he switched his cloak to a nice civilian form and walked to the casino. When he got there he paid the entry fee and the fee for the casino to transfer all his winnings to a temporary account in a local bank. He was escorted to the nearby table and waited for the tournament to begin, and touching his wrist, he set his visor to be able to see the cards. The first part of the tournament proved to be rather boring, since he had to lose one or two hands to make it look like he was not cheating. By the end of the first round he made enough to pass to the second round and for him to more than make up for all the fees. The second round was pretty much the same as the previous round, except that the amount that they were betting increased. Again, thanks to his visor, he won 90% of all bets and now tripled the amount he paid as fees. He made it to the quarterfinals and as before the bet amount increased once again. And once again he won 90% of all bets. Semi-finals was now reduced to 10 people. One of those people was a blonde with a tattoo on her forehead, showing more cleavage than some of the waitresses in the casino. She had to be the prevert's old teammate. Naruto won only 87% of the bets and had enough money to start his own vacation resort. But he had plans for this money and it was not going to be a very good investment. Much to his dislike, but he had promised to help Hiruzen with his, so he was honor bound to do this. The finals were 2 men and 3 women, one of them being Tsunade. The finals were watched by a lot of people, many who Naruto finished fleecing them of their money. They had looks that said quite plainly that they wanted Naruto to lose everything. In the final bet he placed everything he had, and so did Tsunade, and she lost. He invited her over to talk more privately, and she accepted. Something about that did not sit well with Naruto. Alright, Jiraiya, drop the henge, and at least have the decency of talking to me without the disguise. Naruto looked particularly insulted by being told that. I am not wearing any disguise or using a transformation jutsu. But if you really want to talk to that drunken pervert, I think he is at a local brothel, disappointing the prostitutes and letting them make some easy money off him. Tsunade laughed at that comment. So I gather you are no fan of his. Naruto smiled and simply told her that his clan did not raise a pervert. So what do you want to talk to me about? Tsunade looked at him and told him she was deep in debt. She was hoping to get a low-interest loan to pay those debts off. I have one better for you. How about we make a bet? If I win you come with me to see your old teacher, if I lose you keep the money I made in the poker tournament except the amount of the fees I paid. She liked the sound of that. What do I have to do to win? Naruto looked at her and told her she had to beat him in a fight and he had to do the same. It didn't take her a second to agree to it, so they decided to take this little dance out into the streets. She pointed one finger at him. This is the only thing I will need to beat you. Jiraiya walked to where the two were fighting. She tried to flick him on his forehead and knock him out, but she stopped dead on her tracks when she looked at his hand. No way, how can you use the Rasengan? She knew that she needed to take it seriously as he slammed the Rasengan on the ground, making a small crater. Why would he do that? All this dust and she will catch him unawares. Jiraiya was confused on the tactics Naruto was using. But then he saw him throw kunai at Tsunade. She of course defected every single one. Jiraiya picked up one of the kunai that landed close to him. No way, this is. Naruto did the hand signs and every kunai began to glow and he did the technique the 4th Hokage was well known for. Flight of the Thunder God. When Tsunade saw him use the technique he was behind her with a kunai, pointing at where her heart would be. You underestimated me and you lose. Like I would fall for something so obvious. She hit him on his forehead, but a puff of smoke appeared where her opponent was. There is no way that was a shadow clone. She began to look for the real one, and she was surrounded by 20 shadow clones, or at least that's what it looked like. They each did the technique again, and this time the electrical charge followed the path of the clones. In less than 10 seconds she was shocked and knocked unconscious. Are you insane? You could have killed her using something like that. Jiraiya walked where Tsunade was. Feeling her neck, he was happy to find a pulse. They both decided to call the black-haired young lady that was hiding while holding a little pig in her arms. We are taking her to our hotel, you are welcome to follow. She nodded her head and did follow them. A few hours later Tsunade woke up with a hangover and the feeling that she had lost. Why did I lose to some brat? Naruto looked at her and smiled, you drank too much for your own good. That stuff does horrible things to your senses. Tsunade told him that she needed to drink to forget the horrible things that happened to her, and especially in the place her lover and brother loved so much. That is an excuse, and a poor excuse at that. You are simply committing suicide, very slowly but suicide nevertheless. What the hell do you know about pain or wanting to end that pain? You are just a punk, a rude punk at that. Naruto simply walked over to her bed and sat down. Well, you tell me, cousin. How much pain do you think I endured when my only relative ran away from reality by drinking herself like you have? This made Tsunade start crying. Don't you dare call me that brat. My only cousin is dead, he was the son of the 4th Hokage, and Kushina, how dare you call me something only he had a right to call me. Do you remember the techniques I used? That was the Rasengan and the flight of the Thunder God. How do you figure I can even do those techniques? Boy, Kurama, you win the bet, I guess no more ramen for a month. She is even more stubborn than I am. Tsunade got up and began to look at him, are you really Naruto? Naruto switched off his cloak and placed his normal civilian mode on. I really don't like that name, but yes, that is me. I have felt more pain than you can imagine since you decided to abandon me in that hell that you and other call Konoha. Till I was 6 years old there was not a single day that I did not wish my life would end. Hope that answers your questions, cousin. She needed a drink and decided to walk out of the room and into the hotel bar. Barkeep, coffee, black, no sugar. Orochimaru decided to drop his hinge, what Tsunade, drinking something without alcohol. I think it is going to rain today. Tsunade just asked him what he wanted, he told her that he simply wanted to make sure she was not returning to the village, they wanted to make her the next Hokage after all. Well sorry, Orochimaru, I made a bet and lost, so I have to go and meet with our old teacher. So the old fossil is still alive, I shouldn't have trusted Danzo to do the job, but I had few options. Naruto walked to the bar from his hiding place and smiled, boy, you change bodies as much as some people change clothes, be sure not to get gender confused Orochimaru. Orochimaru looked at him with a rather angry glare. Well, if it isn't the punk who stole my ability to summon my snakes. Naruto simply said that he was not treating them right and they were much happier with him. The summoned beast is a tool, why would I care what a tool feels? Naruto this time glared at him. And that is why the boss hates you guts and why they are happier with me. Cause I care what the Snake Clan feels. Tsunade had to agree with him, she too held the same belief and treated the slugs as her best friends. Orochimaru, I am having a very good time with my long-lost relative. So I feel generous if you leave now and don't come after us. I will let you live. For now. But if I see you again. Your head will be my next trophy. Orochimaru simply began to laugh like a maniac and whispered that then he would treasure their next meeting. He left in a puff of smoke, the shadow clone dispelled. Do you mind telling me how you been, cousin? Was the time they spent telling each other how their lives had been, it was a time of getting to know each other, of offering support and in some cases advice. Naruto told her that his clan did not drink poisons without due cause when she asked him what would be legitimate reasons for it. To dull the pain before a difficult and painful surgery. This made her want to ask him how much of medicine he actually knew, he simply told her that if she became Hokage, he would share with her all his medical knowledge. Jiraiya finally showed up to see the two getting along rather well. Well, looks like the pervert is back, how about we leave town and get to Konoha, I think you will want to meet my mate. Just as an incentive, you will be very surprised who is my mate. The group left and he collected his winnings, the casino was going to have to do a lot of business to recover, but that was how their business always was, the situations where client won were rare, but they did happen. Do you expect Orochimaru will try and kill us? Tsunade asked Naruto, and he simply told her that he was more than welcome to try. There was very little his eyes could not see. This prompted to ask him what he meant as he used his hunter camouflage, his eyes were clearly visible behind his mask. Once she saw the clear eyes that her cousin had, she understood exactly what he was talking about. Personally, I do hope he does attack. I could always use some nice trophies. He and Kabuto would be very nice trophies indeed. Little did he know that Orochimaru was going to attack as soon as they reached a nice forested area. His new contract needed the space to do their thing. Since Naruto signed the snake contract and erased his entry, Orochimaru had to find a new contract, and he did, although he did not like how Kabuto told him that his contract fit him like a glove. Apparently he had signed the bear contract. Kabuto was pretty much forced to sign the same contract after the glove comment. There was a saying that people should be careful what they wished for. Too bad for Orochimaru and Kabuto, they never listened. As soon as Tsunade, Naruto and Jiraiya were in an open field, Orochimaru appeared riding what seemed to be a massive bear. Kabuto was a little under the weather, or he was wearing some very convincing green face paint. So nice to see you, Orochimaru and Pawn. I do hope you are here to attack us. Cause I would really love to end you right here and now. For the first time since they first met, Orochimaru actually did something that nobody expected. Why do you hate me so much? We both know Konoha is a waste of space, and there is not an intelligent person to be found there. They had the Jinchuriki of the mighty Kyuubi no Kitsune, and they treated the poor kid so badly that they pushed him to suicide. I would think you of all people would be grateful that I am trying to wipe it off the planet. I am doing you a favor, and all I get is hostility from you. So why do you hate me so much? Naruto stepped forward and simply smiled. I don't hate you, Orochimaru. I could care less about what your goals are. I simply think that you are very good prey, and as a hunter, I simply could not pass us the chance at trying to kill you. I even have the right spot to place your skull at. Trust me when I say it will be my kill of the decade. Kabuto, not so much. I really don't like cowardly weak prey, but you. I will simply love to rip your head off and polish your skull to a mirror shine. Then people call me sick. How can you stand his company, Tsunade? Tsunade stepped behind him. Having to be in the same squad with a pervert and you was even worse. Jiraiya was about to argue that he was no pervert, but Naruto put a stop to it. You steal bodies to stay young and extend your life, and you call me a freak. Let's see what an old acquaintance of yours thinks about you. He cut his own hand and summoned something to where he was standing. To everyone's surprise, it was Manda, who for once in his life he was very happy with his new summoner. Manda, sorry to bother you, but I could really use your help with a bear. I figured that you would like to have a little fun. Manda was smiling. Don't worry, I am always glad to help such a thoughtful summoner. But you might want to think about my offer of studying our sage arts if that puny bear is giving you trouble. Orochimaru was furious of what he had just heard. He went through several kinds of hell to get them to teach him their safe arts. Now this guy had not only not have to pay to summon Manda, but the snake boss was actually happy to be summoned by him and even offered him the gift of learning the sage arts. Manda, how low can you go to be willing to help a lowly punk instead of me? Manda looked at his with a lot of killer intent. Because he treats us with the proper respect, and we are happy to have a summoner that honors us with his deeds and not just fails at everything he does, like you. Well, Manda, I have something to apologize for. You will more than likely meet Gamabunta in this instance unless we take care of the pedophile and his current love toy. Manda simple said that then they shouldn't waste time, they could always chat later. When Orochimaru heard the pedophile comment, he really got angry. I am no pedophile, brat. Naruto evaded his punch, Kabuto silence as otherwise. Jiraiya was too busy dealing with his hangover to do anything, and Tsunade was too busy laughing at how her cousin got under Orochimaru's skin and managed to piss him off so easily. That cousin of mine sure knows his stuff. I will ask him why he isn't a ninja of Konoha later. But first, I am enjoying the show. Shizune couldn't understand why she was so relaxed. These were two high-ranking rogue ninja against one. Naruto took his sword out, and with the use of some of Kurama's chakra, the blade glowed red, almost like it was on fire. Kabuto tried to attack him from behind, but he simply slashed from behind really quickly and cut off both his arms and legs. Sit there and be quiet, I will deal with you after I am done with your so-called lover. Kabuto told him that he did not love Orochimaru, he was doing his job. Orochimaru tried to sneak behind him and attack him while he was talking with Kabuto. With the same move, he chopped his hand off. Didn't anyone teach you it is rude to interrupt a conversation? Orochimaru tried to use his other hand, and when he lost that too, he tried to use his new summons to help him. Naruto finished the bear's of in a quick and brutal series of attacks. Look, how about I leave and you forgive me for trying to kill you, Tsunade. He took his sword and it was clear that he was not going to let him do that. Orochimaru then tried to run away, taking his large shuriken, he threw it at him, missing me. Do you even know how to throw that thing? Naruto's only replay was to look behind him, and that was then the real weapon appeared, and it was a disc that looked really sharp, but he did not have time to wonder about it since it cut his head off cleanly and extremely quickly. He walked over to pick up the head and sealed it in a scroll after making sure to properly store it for a future trophy. So Kabuto, mind telling me about this job if you are done regrowing your legs and arms? Kabuto looked at him and told him he was done regrowing his limbs but what he wanted to know about his job. Naruto hit him on the head and told him to quit stalling and tell him about his mission. Kabuto's only reply was that Danzo would have him killed if he did that. So that's all. Danzo is already dead, so quit stalling and tell me what the backstabber asked you to do. Kabuto needed proof, and touching his arm, a holographic display appeared and showed him the exact way Danzo met his end. Even he found the way he was killed to be rather cruel. He ordered me to pretend to join Orochimaru and see how much of his research I could actually steal from him. That is why I had to become his assistant and had to stand that bastard's advances. So what now? Naruto turned around and looked at Tsunade, that is for the next Hokage to decide. Tsunade stepped really close to him and looked at him directly to his eyes. Do you promise never to betray Konoha or the Hokage? Kabuto told her that he was always loyal to Konoha, he simply was doing what Danzo told him since he assured him it was for the benefit of the village. Well, in that case, go and wait for me in office of Hers in Sarutobi. Tell him I decided to welcome you back to the village. Kabuto left with such a big smile on his face that made Naruto wonder if he was really honest. His actions would tell if he was or he was faking. Now, we just need to get to Konoha for you to take your official job and I can be free of this stinking pervert. Tsunade could not help smiling as he shouted right next to Jiraiya. Damn it, brat, don't shout. I have the worst headache I ever felt. Naruto walked over to Tsunade and told her that this was another example as to why drinking too much only caused pain. Shizune nodded her head in complete agreement and so did the pig for that matter. Naruto, ever consider teaching at the academy? This made Naruto glare at her. I will say this once, so please remember it. I will help you as the next Hokage, but I will never, ever be part of that stinking hellhole that you call Konoha. As they walked, Shizune asked him why he hated the village so much and so he began to answer her question in an extremely detailed and graphic way. He told her of everything he had endured, what his life was before he was rescued by his brother, what people did to him from the moment he had a few days after his birth. The list went on, and with each example, Shizune began to understand why he hated the village. By the time they reached the village, he was done giving him his little lecture, and everyone in the group could hardly believe that such horrors happened in a place the victim's own father died to protect. It was the middle of the night, and so he invited her over to stay at his home. It was the perfect chance to introduce her to his mate. So tell me, Naruto, is there anything, did you ever find anything good in the village? He simply said that he had found a few things, but the very best was waiting for him at their home. He opened the door only to be grabbed by someone in a rather passionate kiss and hug. Kurenai, we have guests. He looked behind her mate to see Tsunade and Shizune still holding the small pink pig. So this is your mate, I can see how much you two love each other, it makes me feel envious to tell the truth. To be young and in love, that was the best part of my life. This made Kurenai welcome their guests into their home. So who would have guessed that Ice Queen of Konoha would fall in love with my cousin? But we can talk about the romantic stuff later. How about that medical knowledge you said you would share with me? Naruto looked at her and he began to take a piece of paper and wrote a very complex formula. Only Tsunade seemed to understand what she was looking at. So what exactly does this formula cure? Shizune asked. Nothing much, just about any sort of virus infection ever known to my clan. You could almost hear a fly flapping its wings, that's how silent the room was. So let me get this straight, if a person has, say, hepatitis, you are telling me that they take 2 of these pills and the person would be cured in a few days? Naruto corrected her. No, what I am saying is take 1 and kiss getting that disease goodbye, forever. This pills cures the disease by making the body develop antibodies to it at an incredible rate. So 1 pill, and 1 day later, you can kiss that disease goodbye for the rest of your life. Tsunade asked about bacterial infections and parasites. He simply told her there were formula for those too. But he was not going to share anything else till she took the big hat off the old man and became Hokage. When she did, he would share all the formula and make this the most healthy village ever, at least physically healthy. He had no cure for insanity. Tsunade, Kurenai stayed in a single room and Naruto slept alone. They spent to the early hours of the morning hearing how happy she was with her mate and how much they were looking forward to one day being parents. Whatever made you fall in love with him? Shizune finally was able to ask. He respects me, cooperates with me, helps me with the training of my team, or back in our home, is the most tender person with me and the best lover I ever had. I hope one day he is also the best father to our kids. Shizune secretly wished that she found someone like that for herself. So this part ends here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, so quickly like this video for second part of this series. And comment down below your thoughts about this series. And now it's time for me to go, bye.